Hi there, welcome to MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Christy McDonald. It was a busy week. The focus is on Lansing and some big decisions being made on the roads, the minimum wage, and Detroit. The growth of the state and where we are headed will all be topics of conversation among business leaders and politicians next week on Mackinac Island. It is the 34th annual Mackinac Policy Conference put on by the Detroit Regional Chamber. This year, there are three major themes there: entrepreneurship, looking for ways to encourage a culture of innovation through policy, capital, and talent. Also, impact, confronting the state's real problems and building a government structure to attract new investment and jobs. And finally, STEM education, a focus on science, technology, engineering, and math to make sure Michigan employers have access to talented individuals. It is a one-of-a-kind conference, as you see. This is scenes from last year, and in fact, only one of its kind in the nation. And the reason for that is simple.
We're so used to thinking of ourselves as a particular community or a particular region, but at the end of the day, we're all in it together. You know, what happens in Detroit impacts the economy in Grand Rapids. What happens in Lansing impacts the economy up in the UP. I mean, we are very interconnected as a state, and it's easy when we're running our businesses or doing our policy back in our hometowns to think about us only in the region in which we operate. But Michigan is a global player.
And we will start with not only how the official agenda impacts the state, but really the unofficial agenda, the conversations that happen up there that may or may not settle a lot of state policy. Nolan Finley is here from the Detroit News, and Stephen Henderson is here from the Detroit Free Press, our MiWeek contributors. And gentlemen, we're heading up north next week.
We are indeed.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at the conference as a whole, because they do have their agenda that they've been working on all year, and having speakers that support that as well. And this really is a unique conference that does have a lot of conversation for the future of Michigan.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good agenda, and there's a lot of very high-level speakers, so the stimulation of good ideas being discussed will, as always, be part of or dominate this conference. But also, over the years, this has been an incubator for big ideas and for, quite frankly, deal making, where, you know, where the business and political leaders come together in private conversations and deal with some of the state's big issues, big problems. This year, of course, they'll be trying to wrap up and finish this Detroit bailout package, so there'll be some arms twisted, some promises made. They're also knee-deep in trying to get some transportation funding, a transportation bill passed. That'll dominate, and there will be other issues that are discussed on the porch or in off rooms that aren't on the agenda but are very important to Michigan's future.
And this is a unique conference. We talked about that it's one of its kind in the nation, Stephen, and it still has a place, and it feels like it's still growing as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, a couple of years ago, it seemed like the conference had something of a rebirth with new sort of energy. The governor decided to use it as, you know, a big platform for his agenda, which I thought breathed new life into it. And Sandy Barua has really upped the sort of ante in terms of the kinds of people he brings in. I mean, you think of the people we've seen just in the past few years: Thomas Friedman, Michelle Rhee. This year we get Malcolm Gladwell. Those are very, very big names. And Joel Klein has been there. You know, we get a lot of star power now, which is very cool. We get Paul Begala and Sarah Cupp this year as well. So the conference has changed, and I think sort of risen in prominence and in importance in terms of the way people think about it. No one wants to miss it.
Has it gotten over the hump of, well, you know, it just could be a boondoggle for our state leaders to go up and spend some time on Mackinac Island?
Well, it's a boondoggle for us. I mean,
it'll never get over that. I mean, there'll always be people, well, they don't do anything up there. It's not a policy making conference. It's a policy conference. It's a place to discuss ideas, put some things on the table and see if there's any support for them.
But would you say, though, to people who have never been to the Mackinac Policy Conference, who are a joke you public sitting down here, who will never be there, would you say, though, that the conversations that happen up there actually do impact everyone else's lives?
I mean, yeah, and it's inevitable that some big turn will come out of that. Some big decision will be made or deal will be made. But what we have to keep in mind, too, is it's not publicly funded. This is a private organization. Everybody who goes up there pays their own way. I don't know about the politicians. I don't know who's paying their way, but the conference itself is not publicly funded. This is a private enterprise.